Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is our game of the year at Crub. I'm going to say it on behalf of the 4 people that aren't here. I don't care if they don't agree. Welcome to this special edition of the CRUBCAST, your more than weekly dose of controlled chaos here in podcast form. The 4 of us have finished Clair Obscur, and this is a spoiler cast. We're going to gush about the game, but you are going to have spoilers discussed. If you haven't played the game, you should, and you should come back later. You should put this in your watch later and come back when you've played the game. This game was good enough that I had to actively tell Nicco, I don't care that it's an RPG. You have to play it. Hi, Nicco. I didn't introduce you yet.
What's up? It's true.
Which is what helped lead to Chris getting back into it. Hi, Chris.
Hi, that's me. I got back into it.
And it's all thanks to Sean on one of our special new What We've Been Playing Lately episodes of the podcast. Sean mentioned Expedition 33, and it reminded me that I wanted to play that instead of editing the dumbass video that I really didn't want to work on. And that led to a binge unlike many other binges I've had in my life. Hi, Sean.
Hi. I am sorry and you're welcome.
Yeah, no, it is your fault, and thank you, and I hate you. Yeah, that's like independent of all of this, though. We don't really have a format for what we're going to talk about here. We didn't really plan a lot of this out.
Start with general thoughts.
Who wants to start? Yeah, generally.
I can start. So as our longtime listeners will know, I do not like turn-based games, generally speaking, or at least I have not liked them in the recent past. By the recent past, I mean also the distant past. More so the recent past. This one in particular, Kevin did reach out to me and was like, hey, banger alert, essentially.
I pulled the card that I don't often pull unless I know for sure it's a recommendation of value, which is the Bloodborne card. Because when it was in 2018, I believe Bloodborne was free on PS Plus. And when I went through it, I was like, I don't know why I think Nicco will enjoy this, but I think it has some sauce that I think he will enjoy. And that is the moment that he became a gamer, was probably Bloodborne specifically.
It's the genesis.
Since then, I don't pull that often unless there's a game where I'm like, this is genuinely a game that I think will break a barrier of some sort. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this was one that I just knew as I was getting through. I'm like, this is the one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And honestly, like it did like open me up, right? Like I'm happy to be proven wrong continually, about different game formats and things like that. It is like when I hold opinions that I hold very strongly, perhaps sometimes I don't hold them that deeply. And so it's nice when, you see like something like this where it's a turn-based game, but it's snappy, right? Like the combat is, and the combat's like kind of the least interesting part of the game, which is like saying something because the story is that good. They don't stop they don't stop delivering bangers. But just quickly to touch on the combat, it has active parrying, active dodging. It really does keep you on your toes. There's a lot of synergy between the characters and between the moves and the pictos that the characters themselves can have. A lot of different options. It's
a JRPG fan's JRPG. If you've somehow not seen gameplay of it, the best comparison for what the gameplay is, to touch on the active parrying thing, it is kind of a Paper Mario or Legend of Dragoon sort of system. I get a lot of Dragoon vibes out of it, to the point that, Chris, when you were mentioning to me that it was partially inspired by Legend of Dragoon, according to at least one person, we then had to go and find the quote. And we did find the quote, which is nice, because not enough people played Legend of Dragoon besides essentially you and me.
A lot of people are mean to it too, so we got to be out here raising the flag for it,
Yeah. It's to your point. I think like you said, the RPG mechanics are maybe the least interesting part of it. That's not to say they're not interesting.
Sorry, they're excellent. They're just the least interesting part of the whole experience.
The most interesting part about the combat to me is that it immediately begins as a JRPG fan's JRPG, where every character has a unique gimmick that is completely wholly theirs. And you have to learn how to master each individual character as well as figure out how they fit into the party that you are crafting. And that the game does limit breaks in a more fun way than I think many games have done the concept of a limit break, where you are locked to 9999 damage until a certain point in the game. And then once you get to that point, they say, okay, break our shit.
Yeah.
And they let you break that shit to a degree that most games don't even dare.
Yeah. Like there are certain bosses, like there's one specifically that like I went up against. It's one of the like world bosses or like in the water. I forget what it is. It's like Spooge or something
Sprong?
like that. Like,
Spong.
Yeah,
Sprong.
Yeah.
I got like
The goat.
millions of damage on this thing by complete accident. Whereas typically you just be like, oh, that was just a lot of 9s. Cool.
Man, and it was like
But-
before
It was like insane.
before having his reward.
It was like it's wild that the game allows you to do that, which I respect. And like you said, it does a lot of things that JRPG, like good JRPGs do, and it had me initially feeling like a kid again, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna play Chrono Trigger on the Saturday morning, and I got that feel again because it's like this whole new world. It's very exciting. It's very, oh, this is cool. I don't know anything about this, and I like the mystery about it. But the thing that really stuck with me is having characters be my age as a 30-plus-year-old. It's like, oh, okay. And then seeing them look back on like, okay, because for those of you, well, it's a spoiler cast, you're going to know, okay, once you turn, X amount, you're dead. Cool. You're erased, essentially. And like having individuals know that and like look back on their lives and seeing both the regret, the happiness, the nostalgia, the I've only had more time, not only from these characters but from journals that you find from all over. It really resonated with me to the point where I was like, okay, I need to see everything that this game has to offer, because like I started finding some of that stuff in the first like hour or two, and then everything just blew up for me.
I think Chris, you were also one that said this. I think it might have one of the more affecting intros and more effective intros of any recent game, especially any recent RPG.
I thought about it a lot after I played it, because I just booted this up in like September just to get an idea of what this game is, because I just heard everyone talking about it for months, right?
Yeah.
And it does such a good job of bringing you in on a personal level to Gustav, but then also setting up the mystery of the world without actually telling you what it is. Like, I remember asking you, Kevin, I'm like, what is it? Gomage? Like, what is... Everyone's just talking like they know what things are, but not in like that annoying Final Fantasy 13 way where you're like, okay, I'm just left out of the conversation now. But
Yeah.
it sets you up very quickly, and you kind of get this like rising hope, kind of like, oh, everything's mellow, but maybe, let's see what's going on here. And then you arrive to the island with Renoir, as you find out later, just immediately cuts a guy's head off. It's like,
bodied.
oh, okay. I didn't know this was like that kind of game,
Like it's a Saving Private Ryan sort of scene. Again, for anyone who maybe is watching who didn't have intent to play the game, it goes from this intro that, like you said, Sean, kind of sets up these characters that have regrets. There's debates about, Gustav's love interest character is about to Gomage because she's 34, and like they broke up because she didn't want to have kids, because why would you bring kids into a world where they're going to die at 12?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's such an interesting,
that.
thing that people are even discussing in the modern day. Do you want to bring a kid into the world that we are in?
Yeah.
And there's so much immediately that grounds this, fantastical story. And then you are grounded even further by having almost everybody in the group you just connected with get murdered savagely by giant hand goatsies.
Yeah.
And you watch this guy you play as who basically, I don't want to say nerds out over all the other expeditions, but I mean, he's like studied all of them as much as he can to kind of build up his own hope and confidence in what he's about to do, right? And just immediately he's like, I guess I'm going to shoot myself in the head, because clearly, what are we even doing here?
Like
it was a
so
Persona
effective.
reference.
Yeah. Like everything he's worked for is just blown up right in front of him, to the point where like he sits down next to one of his own companions as they have like I think it was like a spear like sticking out of their chest as they're like just bleeding out next to him, and he's just
something like that.
Yeah. You see like the one
about to
guy who was
persona
like kind
himself.
of optimistic about this just immediately lose all hope, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
not just like that's the only time that happens. Like there comes a point where you're at the campsite and Luna's trying to talk to you, and Gustav's like, "No, this is bad. Just go back. It's done." And she's like, "No,
Yeah.
we're out
Yeah,
here."
dude,
And
Lune-
She consistently reminds you of the mission at hand.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lune was one of my favorite characters just from that get-go at the beginning. Just
yeah,
from like the way she picked up Gustav was just like touching. I don't know.
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked that moment.
yeah.
Yeah,
Whenever
between
she,
them,
whenever
it
she
stuck
says
with me.
when one falls, not if, but when, like that. That just stuck with me right then and there. It's like, no, you know this is going to happen when
Yeah.
one
Like
falls.
we all
continue.
knew we were going to die here. We knew what this was going to be. We chose
Yeah.
to spend our last year doing this expedition because it's better than counting down the days.
Yeah,
And that kind of brings us into the character of Mael as far as Act 1 goes, in that Mael is 16. And I've seen a lot of people make the same mistake I did, where I forget who wrote it out this way that was really like, oh, yeah, I didn't perceive it as a thing that a lot of people messed up. Mael is 16, so you're like, oh, well, she'd still be alive for like 10 more years. No, because the kind of the timer for the countdown on the big sign that the paintress is painting of this is the year that you're going to die at. It counts down every single year from 100 to 0. And we're currently at 33. If you are 16, you were born in 48 as far as the year goes. Like the year number was 48 when you were born.
yeah,
That means that 16 is not halfway through your life. It is like 2/3 of the way through your life. She's going to die at like 24 because the countdown goes both ways. So she's getting 1 year older while the timer is getting 1 year younger.
Yeah.
And so you then question why this, kid is willing to give everything up. And I didn't really appreciate at the start of the game that her character early on. I was like, oh, it's just another person. Cool. And I didn't, going back, I'm now like, oh, like there's so much here of like her wanting to not just spend a bunch of years that aren't good when you could have one good year here and yeah, maybe you die, but at least you're with people you know, because she's an orphan and the only people that have really cared about her are Gustav and Gustav's sister and Gustav's partner. And one of them is gone, one of them is going, the other is going soon.
yeah,
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just such a, to your point, Sean, there's such a novelty to a game that has the Chrono Trigger effect and the Chrono Trigger length. I've been saying for a bit now that this is very much like the modern day Chrono Trigger in terms of length. It is a game you can finish in like 25 hours.
It's tight.
yeah.
It's real tight.
It feels longer than it is because it is so dense and good, but it also does not really ever drag.
Right.
The only parts you could argue drag, I know some people aren't fond of how Act 3 rushes to the end or how Act 2 meanders a little bit. I think of each of those things as different forms of character study, especially since this entire game becomes a character study.
It's all
1000%.
bangers though. That's the thing. Like even in Act 2, even when you get to like one of my favorite parts of the game is at Act 2. I think my favorite section in the whole game was Visage. Because
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that. Yeah,
like I've just been like on this I've been on this pedestal recently, fellas, about like just telling the truth in your artwork and like being sincere. And like that was the one where they were like, hey, tell the truth in your artwork and be sincere.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, sick. And
Yeah.
it's the best possible way to show it. And it just it went through a lot of emotions and it was like incredibly relevant, obviously, to the story for other reasons. Enjoyed that part. One of my
Yeah.
favorites.
like
I enjoyed the big faces.
Yeah, me too. I also enjoyed the big
that is-
faces.
gosh,
That was
like,
one of those video gamey things where you have like a really laughy mask being like, what emotion am I? And I'm like, oh, right.
Yeah,
I
you're
got
like,
it
is that a
wrong
trick
twice
or
the
is that
first
real?
time.
Yeah.
yeah.
I like after I like saw it and then I looked up from the text at it and I was like, oh my God, I'm an idiot.
I thought it was like a riddle, so I was like, it's not gonna be happy. It's gonna
Yeah.
be whatever. And then no, it's happy or whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
I was
Yeah.
locked into the riddle.
It's like
it's it's interesting because I didn't think a ton of the Visage section. I enjoyed it. It was very unique, and it gave me some good vibes. As far as Act 2 goes, I remember Cyrene a lot more because that gave me a bunch more Legend of Dragoon vibes. There's something about that area that is very like Dragoon coded. It's just maybe the muted clay palette of that area and the destroyed architecture, whatever it is. But also I liked that was one of the first bosses that really used status effects in a way that a lot of RPGs do, obviously. But this one felt more involved than just this is a character that, here's the character that's hot, so she charms you. This was, no, you are literally getting pulled in by her dance because the dance is so encompassing and engrossing and distracting and, whatever other word you want to add. And it also led to one of the more interesting parts where I started to kind of maybe get what was going on a little bit because Mael goes, I've seen this before. And it's not the first hint, not even close, but that is like one of the hints that I picked up on immediately where I'm like, that's a little sus. But also by that point, we kind of have a better idea of what's going on almost. We haven't gotten quite to
what the reveal is.
To like the actual...
But we've seen like Alicia,
we've seen
girl
Alicia
with the burned face and the white hair who looks just like Mael.
Right.
I was still so locked into the world that I hadn't even thought of it yet, right? Because I did the Visage one first, and I kind of got what they were going for with CL being the one who was open and honest the entire time, so she didn't have like a mask to hide behind. So doing that first made me lock even more into like the character versus like the actual context of the world, I guess, basically. So by then I'm just like, Verso doesn't have a desire and he's always lying to everyone, but I didn't really think past that very much. Right. So I was just like, that's interesting for him, but I didn't really all I really had to go on was like, he looks a lot like Renoir, and that probably is something, but I don't really know,
That's something.
There might be something there, I don't know.
I was predicting sort of like the whole time I was predicting BioShock Infinite more or less rather than what actually ended up happening.
Time.
I mean, to be fair, it can be BioShock Infinite depending on which ending.
Because there was and there was like a little bit of like hinting at that at the beginning when Gustav's like, that guy, and like it was brought up like that guy kind of looks like you.
Actually,
and then they never go back to that Gustav.
There's such a good, very on the nose moment that you probably don't get until you play it again. And like, it's one of those moments where you're like, holy shit, once you look back. It is, the biggest of spoiler warnings at this point on from here. If you're familiar with the game, at the end of Act 1, we have our Aerith moment for the modern generation, besides the Aerith moment that happened. And it is that Gustav suddenly gets offed by Renoir. And there's a really desperate fight from him to try and hold off Renoir. Because Mael is, for whatever reason, trapped there. They don't really fully explain like what, magic bubble, if it's Renoir who puts her in a bubble where she has to essentially watch her big brother / adoptive father die. And it's like, it is brutal. You see the dead dude's face for a moment. There's an even more heartbreaking moment after that of when you realize when you learn more about the lore, the fact that he is killed by Renoir means that he cannot be brought back. In the way that Mael later learns how to do. He is like one of the few that you cannot bring back in any capacity because his chroma, his the energy used in from the painters and the paintresses to create things is no longer there functionally. So there's that moment, but then there's also the fact that there's a delayed moment of, similar to what happens to Gustav, there's a moment where Mael is just sitting there kind of sulking throughout the next area they're in until she snaps. And she snaps right before the really cool boss fight with the Dark Souls guy. And like she snaps, she says, none of you care. Why are we doing this? What's the point? Like, he's dead and you're just going on like nothing happened. And it's very much like one of the most believable moments of like a teenage character lashing out. It is so well done. And it also mirrors what we saw Gustav do, which then leads to right after that fight, shortly thereafter, the new character Verso, who takes over in Gustav's place, says, you can bury your friend here. There's a place you can go. And A, he says, I've buried a lot of friends here. But B, they have a short funeral for Gustav, essentially. And yeah.
Context. At this point in the story, we only know that Verso is 100 years old and that he came out with the first expedition. I just need to give that context.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so there's a moment where Mael, again, also really well done acting in general. You know, we're going to say that a lot. All of it is masterful. But, you know, she has this really heart-wrenching moment of grief of like, this is the only person that she really thought cared about her that deeply. Mm-hmm. And she says, we'd always joked, you don't, whether you were my father or my brother, and you are kind of both, and you're the best father and brother I could have. And there's a very on the nose moment where for a second it cuts to Verso. And that is obviously foreshadowing in hindsight, but also it just looked in the moment like, oh, they're cutting to him because he sees the moment of grief. And he's just, he's like, you're getting more of this character that you don't yet know by just seeing him react to that.
Right. Yeah.
And this game
so
is
well executed.
This game is so goddamn full of that everywhere. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed that Esquier, at the very end of the game, when they go back to Lumiere at the very end, he says woo, not we.
Yeah, sometimes you feel
no. Oh.
Because he knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And there's shit like that everywhere. Like I want to play this game again to see a lot of that. I'm not going to anytime right away because God, that's that took a lot.
Yeah.
Took a lot to do.
Yeah.
But
it is.
Yeah.
The thing that I really like is you can see everybody, because in the world, like, they're all painters and paintresses, and they all have different things that they're able to create. And something that I feel like gets overlooked a lot is, grief. They all take grief differently. Renoir tries to control his family. And while it's like, yes, this is in like, also maybe a hot take, I don't think any of them are really the bad guy. They are just taking their grief out in ways that is unfortunately harming others. And like, for example, Renoir wants to help his family. He wants to control how they're feeling, control this. And instead of like allowing them to get those emotions out. Like, for example, whenever Mael like talks to Renoir, like the actual Renoir, not the painted one that the paintress made, he still doesn't really fully trust her. And kind of good reason, depending on, what ending. But he doesn't trust her. Anytime she tries to explain something, he always cuts her off. And the only time you really see him, like, he seems cool, calm, and collected, but the only time he seems to freak out is whenever he yells and is like, he can't lose another child. He can't do that. And so he wants to control them. He wants to get them out of this. And then you have the paintress who has created, essentially, she's the one who created the people we see. Though, granted, she didn't create, Gustav personally, but she created the ancestors, what have you. And it's like, okay, you created these sentient beings who are like living this day-to-day life that you used to see because, well, you learned that there was the great, I think, the
fracture?
The fracture, that was it, yes. And it turns out, that's whenever Renoir came into the painting, who's like, hey, I need to get you out of here. You can't be living this fake life with this fake family that you made. And you also kind of see, like, because unfortunately the parents don't really see Mael, Alicia, in good light because,
there's a line during the painted Renoir fight, which is halfway through the fight, where he gets the full heal and turns into a fucking lion. And he says, your sister deserves more. And the reason that I highlight that is Verso has two sisters.
Yeah.
One of them they don't see as existing. And that is because, to go through the plot very briefly, we find out around the end of Act 2, and really kind of more towards the start of the epilogue between Acts 2 and 3, we find out what has been going on, which is that, the Paintress is actually kind of not like you said, there's not really a bad guy. We always assume the whole way through that the Paintress is this evil person trying to kill everybody. Until you really get there and you see that the Paintress is like the giant version of the Paintress that is doing the big number, is like sitting like you see someone, head in their knees, fetal position, sitting up like they're in the shower crying.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, what's going on? Then why are they sad about this? And that starts to, unveil a bit of what's going on, which is that the Paintress is the real life version of Mael's mom. They are part of a family of supernatural painters who can literally create these worlds that you can lose yourself in.
Divine watchmakers, essentially.
Yeah, by way of painting. So all the things you've made, it is the reverse Final Fantasy X, where not one character is a dream, everyone but one character is a dream. Yeah. And
it's the Matrix if one person were like an architect, if a family were an architect of the Matrix.
And so we find out
mechanically too, by the way, just at the end of the fight, like she gives your party members shields before you kill her.
She gives Verso a shield, yeah.
Oh,
because she's so lost at the fact that we find out that in the real world, there's a war between these painters and writers. We don't know what's going on there yet, as far as like where we are in real life. We don't know yet. That's just kind of a thing they set up that they might do, they might not.
Yeah,
you don't really need them to. Yeah. But we find out the writers had set the house that they live in on fire. It's a house you go throughout the game as well in some capacity. You see the ideal version of that the family house, and we find out that Alicia, the real life version of Mael, was kind of caught up in the fire, and real life Verso sacrificed himself to save her, and the family has been shattered by that. So the mom has been going into the painting and is the Paintress. The dad went into the painting to try and take her out of the painting because he learned from her at some point in life that he was getting lost in his own art as well, and she pulled him out, and she taught him how to not do that, and so he's trying to do the same for her out of love. The sister that we don't know exists until that point in the game gives you the plot dump. Her name is Clair. She's very cold. She's very, Lune is very similar to Clair. And all these characters have very strong similarities to some of the family because it kind of makes sense. And so we find out that Clair exists, and we find out, again, so much about how these characters work. And the line, "Your sister deserves more," is one of those to me, in that they don't consider Alicia, or rather, Painted Renoir is made by the Paintress, which means it is made in the vision of the mom, of Aline. And so she's painting Renoir to be mean and control freak. Yeah. And so it's like this bastardized version of him from her current perspective, which means that like she doesn't see Alicia as a daughter currently because she's the one that led to Verso dying. And so she's taking it against her. Yeah, like she gives her the same scars that she has in real life. And the other thing that like I really like is you also see how Renoir sees his family by the Axons, because the Axons represent his entire family. So Serene would be how he views his wife. Verso is Visage. Yeah. And the one with like the big city on their back would be Clair, who's unfortunately, well, we don't know exactly how that happened, but we know that she's, in that
carrying the burden of the family out.
Oh, they do it. There is lore that explains that. It was the fracture, right? No. It's never mind. I was wrong. It was explained in that one journal, right? There's a few different spots where they explain it, but essentially what happened was Clair went into the painting and kind of like painted Clair this awakening moment of, I need you to do my bidding to tip the scales of this war, because they were both evenly matched, mom and dad, inside the painted world as the gods of this world, until Clair went in and said, anybody killed by real Renoir's forces, or by the Nevrons, which are made by Clair herself. Anyone killed by those, their chroma, their energy is locked up immediately in those creatures. so that the more people that die by way of the Nevrons, the less power that Aline, the mom, has in the painting. So the timer then exists because she's losing this battle, this Dragon Ball Z energy volley back and forth, where it's just kind of slowly moving tug of war style towards Renoir because of her putting her finger on the scale. But we find out because of that, the whole reason that the first expedition happens with painted Verso and painted Renoir is because Clea went missing. So they went to go find out what happened to Clea. And they find out with their expedition party that Clea has been corrupted, essentially, by real Clea.
Yeah,
and
they
that's
said
also
that,
what leads to Simon existing.
That real Clea overwrote her mom's vision of her, essentially.
Yeah.
That's what.
Also noteworthy, there's only 3 axons that we see in the game. We see 2 by way of the 2 that we see in the game and the main story, and then 1 in Act 3 is the one where you can find Alicia, which I believe is the Cleo. I believe that's the Clea axon, which then means that the Alicia axon, like Alicia to the family, does not exist because it has already been defeated.
Makes sense.
Which is an interesting point if you point it towards the family.
And
that's a whole very dense thing to explain what's going on plot wise in case you're not familiar. But
which
again,
it's just all bangers. It's all bangers. They don't stop throwing you bangers. Like they send you on this whole. This is in my opinion the best ever. It was all a dream.
Well,
hands down.
I disagree that it's just a dream because those are 1000% sentient beings. Like they've shown.
I think he means the spirit of it rather than like it being. Like I agree. I agree with what you're saying, Sean. But I think that the reveal being that none of this is real. The reason that it's so good, to Nicco's point, is that it is all real. Yeah. What gives you the right to deny agency to the creatures that you made, simply because you are the god of them, and you know you may feel pain with them going away, but you get to decide that. And
there's so many just ethical questions.
Yeah. Which I think also is one of the big things, not to cut you off, Nicco, but one of the things that I think is discussed too much here with a lot of people who have played Expedition 33 and gotten through, or more likely have not gotten through and just looked up things because they got bored, based on how the discourse can sometimes be with this game. A lot of people focus on the fact that the choice you make at the end of the game is either to keep Mael in the painting as a form of she becomes the paintress essentially, and she just will die in there because of her grief. And that's commentary itself on healthy ways to
like
cope.
Like escapism. Like
and
going in the same footsteps that her mother goes through.
Straight up, to the point that like that's the big crux of that last thing. Or if you go with Verso's ideal ending, which is also real Renoir's ending, which is we have to get rid of this so that we can heal, as painful as it will be, that wipes out everything in that world. And so a lot of people go to, well, that means you sided with genocide. And it's like, yes, from the definition, you're not wrong.
Yes.
And also, it is more complicated than that, because if you don't have if the person who does the painting will inevitably die because of them remaining in the painting, then that painting is numbered to begin with.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that, like, starting to think of if you do choose Mael's ending, because I only got one. I didn't go through again. I'm like, I just want to sit with the one I get. And I was like, okay, I think Mael would eventually hopefully get out of this painting, so I'm going to go with that one. But, like, you see, just give it this way. You see how Verso is already. Verso has seen, he just wants to die.
He's like begging for it.
He's begging for it. And while, it's selfish about how he's going about it, he is like, this isn't who I want to be. You got to kind of think of, like, say, for example, Lune. Like, how she, loves to learn, loves to know new things. How long until she gets bored of that? Yeah. Because she's going to have all the answers eventually. And it's like, okay, what's the outside world like?
Especially when everyone's immortal, and in the guise of the Mael ending, there's an element of, if you look at their faces, they're not necessarily thrilled. Like, Lune kind of seems thrilled currently. CL is like maybe less so because she had, throughout the story, we hear her talk about her husband who had passed away. And we hear her story of grief and how she goes through that. Yeah. And in her, her face, you see, she's happy her husband's back, but also she knows it's wrong.
Yeah, like that's one thing that I really like about this is how everyone deals with grief. And even Lune to a certain degree, because she deals with grief as in, I have to finish my family's work. I have to be the one. Everything's on me. And it's that kind of like, I have no life. I am their life kind of grief. And ultimately, this game is all about grief and how, not, I want to say just cope, but like, how do you continue? And that goes for everybody in this. How do you continue?
And I'll throw out the other comparison here. You said, everything depends on me is kind of Luna's vibe. Very Clair.
Yeah.
And CL is very motherly throughout the game, which we find out in part because she was pregnant. And she didn't know that until she went to try and, take her own life after her husband died because she couldn't feel like she could go on. She survived because of Esquier, we find out later on, but her baby dies. And one of the more interesting things in the Mael ending is we don't see CL with baby because I don't think Mael knows baby exists. Only Verso does.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting, element there.
Where it becomes selfish. Crazy.
Yeah.
Wait, who's it? But doesn't Mael walk in with a kid?
That's the kid. That's Gustav's
apprentice.
You're right. Yeah. Okay.
Which they don't
there
really.
Is a theory.
He looks different. It's weird.
There's a theory that is, that's Verso. Like Verso's like the piece of Verso's soul. There's a theory that's him.
I could see that.
Which is what I thought you meant.
Yeah.
Yes, the one that was painting at the end.
Yeah.
There's a theory for that. I don't know. I'm not here to theory craft. I just, I chose the Verso ending.
Oh yeah, she could have picked too.
And I chose the Verso ending. Chris was on when I was doing this. I was like, man, this is one of the toughest choices in video games that I've played. Because
I sat there at that choice. I sat there for I had to walk away from it. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know this was coming because they have no indication that's on the way.
Right. No. Because on one hand, right. Yeah. And it was like, on one hand, I was saying this to Kevin. I was like, well, it's Divine Watchmaker, and it's like they've created life that is like a self-sustaining ecosystem upon itself. To create more life, right? And Kevin came back to me with, it's pantheon of gods, it's a family fighting. As are many pantheons of gods, as history has shown. And that's just a really interesting way to look at this is in the pantheon of gods, way. But I was like, on one hand, I was like, I have this, I could sustain life. Or I could not do that.
That was
true.
Yeah,
and
you're
so
not wrong.
Yeah, right. And so I decided to give Alicia Mael the gift of life. And I destroyed everything, and I'm happy for it. Because when you get to the end of that ending, it didn't have the air of, you look at Gustav's face and it's like, is he happy? Is he not? Who knows?
Yeah.
That was the thing with the other ending is you see Verso come out just looking miserable and dejected, and he's forced to perform for Mael effectively.
And he's literally a puppet at that point.
I hated that ending. I knew I wouldn't like either choice, right? But I did pick that one. Just because I was like, I don't know, I just got to pick one, and it sucked.
Yeah. And I will say this: since I chose the ending I did, I was like, well, they booted me out to the start screen. I burned it all down. I can't boot this game up again, and I haven't.
And so there's a part of that was the thing that got me to, I think, recommend the game to you, Nicco, which was I got to the end and I sat there for actual days because I didn't do everything right away in Act 3. There was a point at which I was like, I want to see what happens. I need to move on with my life, which, hey, fitting themes. And I finished the game. I also went with Verso first. I then looked at the Mael ending afterwards because I gotta have to see. And the Verso ending was like, okay, I'm happy they've moved on. It's clear to me in that ending that yes, they're not happy they had to get rid of that last piece of Verso, but you can't have this ghost of a character following you around because you don't get to move on.
It was the healthiest. It was the healthiest way.
Yep. And so like even with the element of like Alicia is like slightly smiling, like, and to me, if they have this power, if you're looking at the humans that are in this world, if the humans have this power to paint, it won't be the same, but she can paint those characters again.
Right.
Like there's a question of getting lost in one piece of art versus moving on and moving on further. And so that was the one element that I was like, okay, I feel pretty happy with that. And then I saw the Mael ending where she is literally being corrupted by the act of not wanting to let go of the things she's enjoying. Yeah. And that was when I was like, I am now doing the same thing by trying to put off finishing the game. Or go, put off like going back and then playing more. The act of going back in is now me doing the escapism and partaking in that to avoid doing things I should be doing. Because that is what I was doing by playing that game is avoiding responsibilities I should be doing.
The poor Rough Trigger video parlayed by Clair Obscur.
Yo, fuck Rough Trigger. But yeah, and so like there was just that I had never sat on that sort of thought with a game. I've had games that have made me think, obviously. I've had games that have made me think for a long time. I've never had a game that made me think about the act of playing a game in that pseudo Undertale sort of way, where like they're like, oh, what are you doing? XYZ. This one really stuck with me because of how masterfully it sets up that point, and retroactively how it does so throughout the entire game.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was on board with it pretty immediately because I was just so sucked into the world it had, right?
Yep.
Best rug pull in games I've ever played at a point because it does literally upend everything up to it. And then it starts raising those questions you got to, right? And those thoughts of like, man, like engaging with this in general is just strange at a point too, in such an interesting creative way where I think back, it was like a month or so ago. I don't remember why you were talking about it, Kevin, but you're like, oh, what a tough debut game to follow up on, right? Like,
I don't know how they do it. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah. Even just from like a quality perspective, but even with like the narrative threads they tie here, right? It's like, I don't know how you do something more thought provoking or evocative. Maybe you just don't. Maybe after this, you just make a silly Mario game and say, I don't know, but
gosh,
dude, it'd be funny if they made the writers text-based RPG.
Actually,
it's going to be interesting because like the art style of the writers would be like very different. It'd be much more like it'd be much more fantastical. It might be sci-fi. Sorry, Sean, go ahead.
But no, that's actually something that like I remember you and I talked about before Nicco came over because I visited you one time, only once. But I was like, it wouldn't surprise me if the writers are like composers more so because music's a very big thing in Clair Obscur. Like even with like the after some time, it's like, oh, now I know the words to this song. It wouldn't surprise me because you see a lot of times where Verso is like wanting to go to the piano, wanting to play music and what have you, and it's just he's getting turned away from that. So it wouldn't surprise me if Ryder is like writing music, which
crazy.
See,
I would typewriter in one of their rooms. I don't remember if it was Alicia or Clea's, but there's
that too. Yeah,
I figured painters,
I would have
writers,
pushed
and musicians
back.
Would be three different.
Well, I would have pushed back on the idea of writer being music writer because all the painters have music of some sort that they already do. So the fact that the painters, as we know them in the real world, that family does music, I would think that if you are one, you are not the other because there's some war going on, that you wouldn't dare invoke the other material, at least in my head. But to your point, this has one of the most cohesive soundtracks, the most thematically appropriate soundtracks that any game has ever had. It is one of the best soundtracks any game has ever had. And
it's insane how they found him.
They found a dude on SoundCloud. It is I don't know how he would follow that up, because this is I think he said it was like, this is 5 years of work that he put in to make this, and like how do you take all of those inspirations and then do it again for one? But the one song that sticks out the most to me, there's so many, because there's so many different inspirations that these songs take, is the fight with Renoir, which is one of the three songs in the game that are 11 minutes long. They come together to be 33, because of course, and they're all named after the three quote unquote endings of this game. There is a life to live, there's a life to paint, and I'm forgetting the name of the third one, but one of these takes place in the Renoir fight, and that song that happens is vocally real Renoir and real Aline screaming over each other in a fight about this debate. In French, it is actually them saying what the plot is of the game. And they are yelling at each other. The interludes that happen in between, where there's moments of quiet, you hear the piano come through, trying to break through. Literally, the last piece of Verso's soul, trying to say, "Do not fight over me," and getting drowned out by every other instrument, every other vocal in this song, where it is just like I don't notice tempo changes. That's not the right word for it, Nicco.
Key change? I don't know.
Not key change.
Like the leitmotif?
No, like it switches from like a 4/4 to a 6/8 or whatever. Like
tempo. Time change. Time signature.
It changes time signatures a few times throughout for only like one measure at points, just to like keep you on your toes. And like I don't notice that usually in music, and I caught it here because like you're like, oh, I know what it's going at a certain cadence, and immediately you do not get to be comfortable because they are fighting.
Yeah, if you're off, if you're off balance, that's like. It's like for that.
Like it is the first song to do damage to me in a video game.
Psychological damage.
Because like you're not ready when that comes through, when it goes from cutscene to fight. Like I literally got hit the first time in that fight, like the first attack that Renoir does, because I was like, holy shit! Like I was not ready to play the game again.
Just comes out swinging immediately.
It's crazy too. Like there are a lot of good, crazy riffs. A lot of crazy riffage in the soundtrack toward the end there. They straight up have like an electric guitar just going nuts.
Yep. Erkman in our Twitch chat, we do stream a lot of these discussions live on Twitch, twitch.tv/crub_official. Erkman jumped in and said, a life to love is the third one. So it's a life to live, a life to paint, and a life to love are the three lives.
Yeah. I wanted to circle back to something. I was under the impression there were only two endings.
Yeah, I thought there were only two endings.
There are only two endings that we get. The thing that happens is at the end of Act 2, we see everyone celebrating, and Verso reads the letter that Alicia painted had given him. And that letter is written, "A life to love." And the reason that is she says, it feels weird seeing you with Maëlle, a person who is the version of me as she should be, not as she is in real life. I'm the version that the painted version is a painted facsimile of the real Alicia, who cannot speak, who is disfigured thanks to the fire, and all that stuff. And she says, whether you give this letter to Maëlle is up to you. But I think, based on how our mother paints life, our father paints death, I think that Maëlle, she says, what will you paint? She's talking to Maëlle at that point, where she says, I think you can find a third solution that healthily gets us through this. And I believe in you to do that. And Maëlle somehow finds that letter later on. But Verso throws that in the water because he wants to die. He thinks the only way for this to happen is for the decision that he has made is he needs to die and this painting needs to go away because he has suffered. He lived much of his life once he found out thinking that Alicia had died, not him, so on and so forth. And he sees how it's affecting the family. And so he thinks that, I shouldn't exist.
Yeah, and also he really wants to protect his mom too, like the actual paintress. Like he sees her dying and it's like, I
me
will
being here
sacrifice
is
the
killing
world
her.
for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's like, I
so
will sacrifice the world for that. Yeah.
so he throws that letter into the water and doesn't give it to Mael, where if he had given it to Mael when he first received that, if he reveals to her earlier instead of continually lying that, hey, you are actually here's the plot dump.
Yeah.
Is there a way that Mael at that point, not having woken up as the person that she is as Alicia in the real world, or rather, not having woken up, but we see the flashback.
Yeah.
If she doesn't have that flashbulb of all of her real memories and finding out that she actually is 33 because she's lived 2 lives essentially,
Yeah.
does she then find a third way? And we don't get to see that ending because that's not how life is.
Yeah. And it really goes to show how much they've taken away Mael's choice. Renoir takes it away. Her mom takes it away. Verso both
Tries to take it away.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like yeah. It's
But
just
also,
like,
there's an argument to be made that, like, because of Gustav is the reason that Mael wants to hold on so much. There's part of that where it's like, okay, like, I lost an older brother / father, and now I don't want to let go of Verso, who is like, you know, in the same way we said that it cuts to him when she says, "You're the best father I could have," to Gustav. Like, now that she has a second opportunity, like, you don't want to, like, let it go away.
The thing is, I've noticed that before she finds out who she is, she doesn't really treat Verso like that. Even afterwards, she doesn't treat him super much, like, super
they
caring.
get closer, but there's an element of, I know you're lying to me. I don't trust you. Like, even as the walls come down, like you said earlier, Chris, Verso only lies. Everything Verso says is a lie.
Yeah.
And he even lies to himself.
Yeah. And to the point that the only time that he will tell the truth is at the very end of the game when he's, like, dying, if you pick Mael's ending, which I was going to ask you, I'll ask in a moment, how both of you felt about the ending you picked once you got to Verso saying, "Please let me die."
Yeah.
Because if I had done that, I would have said, "Holy shit, I made the wrong choice." Because it's rough. But so that's the one time he tells the truth is there. And the other time is if you get to the max affinity with Mael, which I think everybody should. I think a lot of Act 3 is all lore dump. It's really, really good lore dump if you go through and do all the other areas that you can now access when you can fly. The final one leads to Mael gomaging Alicia before Verso can even say goodbye. Which is like, she's now a god. She's like, Mael is a different character in Act 3 than she is prior. And so she's more callous. She's more, I can bring someone back, or, oh, the painted version doesn't matter. You have me now. That sort of stuff. And the very end of that affinity quest with Mael is the other time that I was stun locked for multiple minutes at a time by a dialogue choice in this game, which was, I hadn't even thought about this. Mael goes, "When Gustav died, could you have saved him? Were you there in time to save him?" And
That's all I thought about. Yeah.
And you have the choice of yes, parentheses, truth, no, parentheses, lie. And it is the one time where you get to choose whether Verso lies or not. Yep. And it also then makes you think, oh, he has only ever lied this game.
Yeah.
And that was insane.
Yeah.
It's an interesting ride with Verso because he comes in right as your main character dies, right? Like, they're all main characters, but he's the one you start the game with. And I remember one of the things I was appreciating in the following, like, 20, 30 minutes is like, oh, I like this guy a lot immediately, though. Like, he's very soft. He's very caring, very struggling to kind of relate to anyone there. But, like, how could you in that moment, right? And I was like, wow, this is a really effective way to introduce a new character. Like, this is very good. And then by the end, it's like, oh, I like this guy who does nothing but lie to me all the time. Oh,
like he had put on that face.
The rides with these characters throughout the game, and it just matches the whole entire game. Right? You go in expecting one thing, and it just completely upends you by the end. You're like, man, I don't what.
And they're
basically,
and they're all justified in every thought that each of them have had.
Yeah.
You know, CL is justified if you end up. I didn't know you could Verso can romance both Lune and CL, and I didn't know that because I was already through the CL part, and I was like, oh, that makes sense that like Luna's kind of cold. CL seems like she needs to bang.
She straight up says that.
Yeah, but later on, like it's like, oh, I don't think we should anymore because now my husband's going to come back because now my L can revive everybody. And so then there's the ethical discussion of like, if you could bring someone back and you've moved on, would you? The answer is almost 100% of the time, yes. But what does that uncork?
Yeah, and even she brings it up whenever it's like, oh, if you would ask you forever ago, I would have said immediately bring him back. But now it's like, I don't know.
Yep. And so she goes back and forth. She doesn't want him back in the Mael ending, even though she does want him back, so on and so forth.
Yeah, kind of a similar thing. In the context of like the world before you know what's going on, I just thought it was so interesting to show all the different ways that humanity is coping basically with this. Like some really go into their work and they're like, we're going to build weird Ferris wheels or cars to try to solve the issue. And then some are just like, I don't know, we're just getting drunk a lot. Like you see all the different things. And then once it reveals that like, oh, we're all kind of creations and anyone can come back, there is that momentary like joy from the party members about this of like, oh, we can bring back my husband or whatever. But like especially what gets shown in the Mael ending, like you very quickly start to think about that and like, man, what is the point of anything?
But
like,
then you also see that with who's the little one that
Nicco,
whenever you can bring him back, it's like, well, you can bring him back, but he's not the same. And that's when it was like, okay,
and they foreshadowed it when you go to the place.
Because it's like you bring him back and he just remembers nothing, and it's like, okay, getting the Mael ending now, I'm like, how much of this does Gustav remember? Because is he even the Gustav that I remember,
or is it Gustav from her memory?
Is this just a painted version that she made? Because it's like, oh, you can bring him back.
Something I wish
Yesent.
Something I wish I'd caught earlier with the Gestuals, which is so obvious. I hate myself for not even noticing. They look like paintbrushes.
Yeah,
it's so obvious. I didn't even notice it until after I was thinking about it later on.
I mean, that's one of those where like we knew Clair Obscur was like painting in some capacity, so I didn't even think about that too deeply because you have the chroma counter, the gradient counter. All those things where you're like, oh, they're just playing with painting art style. And then, of course, why would this game not have anything that has a deeper, multi-layered thing?
Yep.
It's just, there are so many layers that I think this is one of those games that spoils you for a lot of other game storytelling. And for it to be done in this format with this kind of game is a monumental achievement.
Yeah.
To do it again and again and again.
Yeah.
It's like they made sure that just like with every line with a paintbrush, every line of code, every idea, there's a rhyme and reason for everything. It's not just thrown in there for the sake of being thrown in there. There is a reason for everything. And they even explained that whenever you look in the axons, it's like, well, Renoir always has, everything's a lesson. Just like there's always a reason for something in this game. And I really, really like that because it really shows you that both you can enjoy it without seeing the full picture. But then when you see the full picture, you appreciate it that much more. And that's art. I
mean, even down to like Renoir's axon is not as elegantly painted because he's not as good of a painter. He wasn't like a painter by trade. He learned how to. I was going to say something else, but it's fascinating how well they were able to cover every base from every lens. And like you had kind of said earlier, like I don't know how they can follow that up. That's for them to figure out. That's not our problem. That's for them to figure out. But this is the best debut game that has ever existed.
There's something I was thinking about also through the lens of like Nicco though, right? Because like I know for Sean and Kevin, I could turn to you and be like, this moment is very evocative of things I love in JRPGs. Like I told Kevin, like when you meet blanking on her name, CL at the Gestual tournament, I messaged Kevin and I was like, this reminds me of when you meet Haschel in Legend of Dragoon, right? And like when they're flying around on the SKA, I thought of like the JRPG thing where you fly around on like the weird creature at some point in some of them, right? Like there's so many emotional beats that aren't like one to one, but it does remind me of the things I love about the genre. And then I think about it through the lens of Nicco, because I was like, oh, I could tell Nicco, like this is like shorthand now, right? It's like, oh, you know, this game makes me feel a lot of the things those JRPGs made me feel. So I was like, oh, well, if I were to recommend another one to Nicco, I feel like I'd almost have the qualifier of like, yeah, but you know, this isn't as good as this thing in Expedition 33. Like it's almost like anything after is kind of like a step down. Like Nicco kind of started too good. We should have started Nicco on a worse turn-based game. Maybe.
I remember what I was going to say a moment ago, not to jump off that quickly, but it was that even the Ludo narrative compliment that they do by giving you the moment that you get Act 3 and you find out, here's what's going on. That's the moment that you were allowed to start breaking the game. I didn't even think about until now that is narratively because Mael is now a paintress and like she is now a god in this world. So she can break the game. And so the game is rigidly put together in the rules that you understood prior. And then you are now able to break all those rules. Yeah. And that is insane.
Sorry, I was going to say, I forget if it was an Act 3 specific Picto, but one of them is literally called Cheater, and it just lets you move twice.
That's
also.
Sprong.
That's Sprong's one.
Because Sprong will move like 7 times in a row, and then once you beat him, because you're not supposed to be able to beat him until then. You could probably, if you were really good and perfect, you could probably beat him before that. But once you get to Act 3, you can beat him, and then, like you said, you can move multiple times per turn, which almost every boss in Act 3 does. So
yeah. So thinking about it through that lens, I'm like, oh, yeah, that kind of reinforces that too, doesn't it? Yeah.
Once I was able to get past like 9,099 damage, I was like, I am going to kill this creature. They need to die now. Because
he was one of the first ones I went for.
I was like, you need to die. I hate you. Because I tried so many times and just
that's fair.
You're going 7 times now. Cool.
I definitely missed a lot of like that type of thing. I did fight Sprong. I didn't fight the like big snaky
Leviathan.
The dragon guy.
The Leviathan in the sky. I like fought it, but I was like, I can't do this.
I was there for that.
Yeah, you were there for that. So
I didn't fight that thing yet. And
I was over leveled by the time I got there. So like I fought him once before that because I was like, oh, let's fight this thing, and then he kicked my shit in, so I left.
Yeah. I think I'm leveled, but it was like I don't think I have a smart enough build because I didn't look up anything for this game, really. I just kind of played it, which is unusual for me.
It is, but I like that. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
that
I didn't look up a single thing.
Goes to show how good of a game it is. Nicco didn't even look anything up.
Yeah.
That enthralled.
I will say, if I had one criticism of this game before I gush a little more, at the risk of keeping us up here any later, my one criticism is that I really could have used like a mini map in the world, like a world map, like just something like or like in Dark Souls they give you these like stones that you can throw onto the ground to like mark that you've been here type beat. Like if I had something like that, it would help me out a lot because I spent so much time like retreading the same ground for like ever being like, okay, did I get everything? Did I go down this corridor, that corridor? Like it would have been easier if I had a method of just tracking that, you know?
And I don't disagree for like a post game thing. And to the point that I know I've said to you off air, this was explicitly like these are a handful, not everybody, but a handful of ex-Ubisoft people trying to make a game they wanted to make, and they were beaten into the ground by that, where they wanted you to be able to get lost in a world like those old school JRPGs, where you might walk into an area where you're going to get your shit kicked in by a boss, and they warn you, whatever, whenever this is too strong for you, don't come, big red warning sign. They warn you, but there's that element. And there's also the element of having a more proper checklist of items to go through would actually help fight the point they're trying to make about getting lost in media (parentheses negative). Because if this game had checklists where you knew where everything was and how to get everything, you would focus so much on the act of getting everything because that's just we are all hoarders. We all We all hoard.
I am a
as
whore.
gamers, that's just how we are, that we want to hoard the items we never use. And the act of doing that and playing the game to completion would sort of sour the point that they are making a little bit of, you have gotten lost in this for the wrong reasons compared to what we are trying to tell you. And I get why that, I understand that complaint. Once I understood what they were going for, I was like, you know what? On its terms, I'm not going to fight that. I'm cool with that.
I will say when I finished the game, I was like, you know what? No, that was fine. But I can't not acknowledge the feelings I had in the moment of being like, okay, I've been here for 20 minutes. And that's like, okay, yeah. Great,
because for some people, they're probably not going to, some people, that's going to be like the last time they play that. They're feeling like you are, and they're like, well, all right, and they don't finish the game. And, that is a valid thing, because you keep like, well, you need to finish it to...
Right.
No,
19.63% of Xbox gamers reached the end, according to my achievement I'm looking at here.
That's
I believe
not
that.
surprising.
Especially when that was on Game Pass, so many people tried it just off of the back of it being free and hearing about it.
That's the other thing. I feel like I should buy it because I just played it on Xbox. I feel like I should buy it.
I did. Oh, someone bought it for me. I think the first thing... I feel like the first thing I sent... Hold on. I need to look up the first thing I sent Kevin about it, because it was funny.
Was it a picture of like Mael dabbing or something?
No.
While you're looking, I do want to say the one thing that there's a thing I said to you guys, which is in the same style as Last of Us Ellie. It is so hard to make a good kid character in a game, let alone a good teen character. Because both from like a character model perspective, when you're doing facial capture, a lot of the time the character just looks older by default because you're using an older person to do the work. That was, God of War avoided that in the first 2018 God of War. Ragnarok had an issue with that because the kid was growing up as they did the thing. It's just harder to translate facial capture and all the dots and tennis balls into a face that looks similarly young. And they did that well, for one. And then also, even with how weird the character's eyes sometimes look in this game all the time, they made Mael so expressive and so genuine in feeling like she is a 16-year-old kid. And I thought that was such an accomplishment, to the point that even, you can't get that wrong, because the narrative moments of Mael having her first lash out about death, that is a thing that everybody experiences, hopefully not as a kid, but some of us do. And you only get one chance to do that right. And if you don't nail that moment, the whole verisimilitude of the game can fall apart. And they killed it. They pulled an Ellie, which few games have been able to do. Because that's why Last of Us is so beloved, is that they were able to make a cute kid that everyone identified with, their them as a kid, or their sister or their niece, whatever it might, whoever it might be that it reminds you of. It reminds you of that punk kid you knew at one point in your life. Yeah. At that age where everyone is a punk kid.
Yeah.
Everybody.
And Mael is like, the fact that they did it again is masterful.
Yeah.
Yep.
1000%.
What a great game.
What was the thing that you were looking for if you found it, Sean?
Oh, yeah. At 11:25 a.m., I sent you a thing that said, "My friend gifted me Clair Obscur Expedition 33. My review thus far." And it's a picture that says, "Lore fact number 1, I would smash Lune on sight." And then you responded with, "Is she the one with the weird foot thing?" And then I responded, and then I said, "That don't matter."
She was. I found out later, the one with the weird foot thing.
Doesn't matter.
They never at any point explain what that is. They know what they were doing.
Doesn't matter. That don't matter.
There is one thing at camp that made me laugh. I'm like, oh, they lampshaded a little bit when Monaco joins the party.
Yep.
And she's like, oh, he likes feet, huh? I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's even better because it's like, oh, yeah, so what's the deal with that? And then Verso goes, don't worry, he doesn't like human feet.
Yeah.
And it's even funnier because once you find out, later in the game, you find out that's the dog from the family, as is Noko.
Yeah.
So like it's Minoko the Third, I think is the name of it, or it's Noko the Third in Minoko. And Noko the Third is already an insane pull because that means that when you see that Noko has been revived a couple times in universe, it is probably because young Verso was painting his dog dying and coming back with a different name, and he's different. And that's insane. But
I'm now sad.
yeah, I didn't even think about that until now that one of them is Noko the Third or whichever one it is. I think it's Noko.
Yeah.
But also you find out that they're both dogs and you're like, oh, that's why they like feet, because dogs are, they like feet sometimes. And then you find out that Minoko is also the office dog at the studio. And I'm like, that's just a dog that likes feet, and they put that into the game, and that's adorable.
Yeah.
Like it's weird in the game that there's a character that rips off feet and polishes them to use as weapons. It's weird.
Sense.
It's funny. It's very JRPG anime bullshit, which is the last thing I'll say.
I have two things to say about that.
The last thing I think I'll say is there are so many people that really wanted to go out of their way to say, oh, it's really cool. Like you said, Sean, it's cool to have a game where the characters are adults. That's what made Yakuza, the new Yakuza series so cool, is that these are all older people. It's cool to see that representation in the media because usually RPGs, you're like, maybe you're 20, if that.
Yeah.
But there are so many people that took that further and they were like, yeah, it's so cool to see things not follow anime tropes where everyone's children or XYZ or whatever. And I was like, this game is so goddamn full of anime tropes. I think you just wanted to say it had white people in it.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll say this. I don't know any anime tropes realistically, so like I couldn't tell you if they are being used in this or not. If they are hiding it well. The two things I needed to say. Number one, when Minoko was revealed, Minoko might be like one of my coolest characters all time. He was just so cool.
The jazz fusion track he comes out to is insane.
Yeah. Right, like he's just everything
me across the face.
Everything about him. Everything about him is so cool. Right?
I mean, the scene that he's introduced in is actually improv.
Of course it is. You like because they're like gonna be a lot of fighting. Like fighting, you say? Yeah.
There's a clip of them doing that, both the actual mocap and the end result, and that was a moment that stood out to me because like usually with a lot of these games you have characters that like step over each other awkwardly when doing a line where I'm gonna get cut, and then there's 2 seconds and then the other person speaks. Yeah. And this was so punchy that I was so impressed, and seeing that in context of they just started doing improv and it worked. Yeah. I was like, holy shit, that makes sense. It
flows so well. It was just like, oh, back.
It's so
immediately
good,
makes Minoko rad. And it makes Verso radder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really is me and best friend.
And the second thing is that, when after I discovered Minoko, I was hanging out with Kevin and Sean, and this spawned like one of my bits of the year, which was just a serial killer who is into feet and disguises that fact by taking the whole leg. Minoko inspired me to make a funny character. So, thumbs up on that.
Thanks, France.
The least important takeaway from this, save it for the end,
Sean, we'll go to you next. Do you have any closing thoughts that we haven't hit on?
This is... I don't even care to sugarcoat it. I think this is one of the most important games to come out in not in a very long time, but one of the most important games to come out recently. And if it hits hard. I cannot recommend this enough. It helped me kind of look back on my own grief and how not only have I carried it, but how I still am carrying it and resonating with Verso in ways that I'm not happy about. But at the same time, it kind of gave me that like, okay, how do I continue this? How do I go about this? And it's, I don't know, it was a very good thing that this game came across my path because, like I said, I was having those nostalgic memories of playing games when I was younger, and now it's like, oh, I'm this old. Oh, I kind of feel like how Verso does right now. I don't want to go down that path. And then it's like, there's just a lot that resonated with me with the story. And like I said, highly recommend. And yeah, can't wait for whatever they come up with next.
Chris, do you have any closing thoughts you want to throw out that we haven't touched on?
First off, I could probably use another 2 hours to talk about the game with you guys.
Yeah.
But since we're wrapping up, light thing I appreciate is that the game's funny also.
It's so funny.
On a
It's
lighter
so
note,
punchy.
I was not
Online.
prepared for how consistently funny it's ready to be, especially with the gestural village. That's when I was like, oh, okay, this isn't going to be depressing the entire time. Thank God.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's genuinely funny too. It's not like it's writing jokes or anything. It's just sincerely
there's,
through the context of the characters and the universe and everything. Like the gesturals are just funny because it's like, what is with these weird little
They want to
forest
fight all the
goblins?
time. They want to die all the time. There's
Yeah,
one in
some
the
are like,
village.
we don't get the thrill from fighting, so we're doing jousting. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's in the village. There's two neighbors next to each other where they both are philosophers, and one of them is like, oh, like very. I can't pinpoint which one was which, but one of them is like very XYZ type of philosophy. One is like very normal, not normal, but like he's like, oh yeah, I do philosophy, and the one who's like very like up his own ass is like, buy my book, and I just laughed. It's so good.
And the breakdancing one, like a few streets over, right? It's just so many
he's
dumb
just doing it
things.
for no reason. Like it's it's a funny ass game.
Like it's like it makes you reflect either on like how you approach media or perhaps just where you are, like with what you said, Sean, right?
Yeah.
But it also does just have those moments that make you laugh, and it's very well balanced. Everything feels like it comes through at the right time. Just again,
It's not sad boy hours all the time. It's
yeah,
like you said, the slapstick humor, the deadpan, like
You wouldn't cry when Gustav died if you didn't feel the experience of playing only up in this game.
Man.
he beat
Wild.
the level just for this to happen to him.
He went through this shit.
He didn't even get to
Wild.
see the sheets officially sponsored only up.
But like it's shit like that. It's the Yakuza or Kojima effect that a lot of games have, where if you can take yourself unseriously, it makes the serious moments mean more.
yeah.
Yep.
And it's I know I had closing thoughts already, but I think I'll bounce up what you guys said. From the lens of a creator, it also made me reflect on the act of creating and getting absorbed into your own work. Whether it's stuff for the dumb YouTube channel, whether it's stuff for this, whether it's other stuff that, writing that I do. It made me reflect on unhealthy work habits, on using escapism to avoid unhealthy work habits sometimes, on getting so absorbed into work that it becomes an unhealthy habit to finish it, and just getting so absorbed into your own bubble that you neglect the world around you and the real world, which is a thing that so many people can relate to, because there are so many workaholics like Alune. There are so many people that are using whatever it is, whether it's art or drugs, to escape from whatever's going on.
Which is something I appreciate about
it's a drug.
the game. To step on you here, sorry.
No, good. Yeah,
like the context is very much about artists, but it applies to anyone. Like you don't have to be a creatively minded person to resonate.
Yeah.
Because everyone's consumed art in an unhealthy way. Everyone's binged something. It's just how we are as people. So it works both ways. And to do it first from the medium of painting, I think was incredibly wise a choice, because we didn't even talk about the vistas and how goddamn good this game looks, but it does things that you don't really see in other games besides like maybe Control with like the corrupted, upside down stuff. But if they had started this with a game in the writer world, I don't know that it would have hit as well, because everybody has had to write at some point. Not everybody has had to paint. And I think that it being just foreign enough was really valuable for that.
Sick. Aligned.
Yeah. I don't think there's a reason to not recommend this game to anybody.
Yeah, I think you should play it.
If you're not RPG player, I don't care. You should.
It doesn't matter. It's tight. It's tight. Like it's short.
There's an easy mode. It's short. It might make you interested in the mechanics of an RPG, of a turn-based game.
Yeah.
It's a good gateway drug. It is not just a Chrono Trigger in terms of length. It is the modern day Final Fantasy VII for an entire generation of people that did not play JRPGs before,
myself included.
It is that game. It will be that game, and that means that we're going to be in for some fucking bangers in the next like 10, 15 years.
Hope so.
Yeah, send post.
Send
Man.
post. Yeah.
Compost.
I don't want to send tweets because you don't know who's going to reply.
I won't.
Grok, explain this game to me.
God. Then just no. I'm not even finishing it. No, it doesn't deserve it.
Well, all right, fellas. Good talks. I wish I had another 2 hours to talk to you guys, but unfortunately, we've said all we can say right now.
I'm only biting my
Yeah.
tongue because I know I'll just say more if I start speaking beyond this sentence.
There's so much more. It's a game that
never mind.
outlasts its runtime.
Outlast its
much.
runtime
Because no matter
by
how
so
long,
much.
no matter how long you are playing it, I promise you will spend that exact same amount of time, if not longer, thinking on it.
Yeah.
And that is a thing that we don't do enough with art as a general culture anymore. We are in one of the most enlightened periods of human history, even if it doesn't feel that way. And we have so much material that we use just to fill the dead air that, I'm guilty of having things that I don't think about that I consume. And so this one reminded me to a really good degree why I'm in the field I'm in and why I do this shit and why I want to analyze this shit. It's that good. It's changed how I work.
Plus, SKA is basically Big the Cat, and that's pretty cool.
SKA is Big
I
the
thought
Cat.
you were calling Minoko Big the Cat when we were talking about it.
Minoko
That
is
makes
also Big the Cat.
a lot more sense.
He's Froggy.
Yeah.
Right.
No, Froggy is the little Noko. And
Froggy's
speaking of
Noko.
Froggy, I can't wait
fellas,
to see
I have
what
not
they
had
bring.
dinner yet. It is late at night.
Sonic Adventure style Rashomon storytelling, but with Minoko and SKA.
I can't wait for a shadow drop of a third ending.
Love it. Yeah, third ending shadow drop. Let's go.
I mean,
Yo,
they
at
are
the
Game
adding more.
Awards.
They
Clair
are adding
Obscur
more.
Generations.
They did talk about that. What? No. Wait, maybe.
Guess we'll find out. Well.